I'm going to allow Lindsay to introduce herself and take it away for this workshop.
Awesome. Thank you, Angelica. Thank you to all of you for setting aside this time for us to chat today. Very exciting topic in the world we are in today, just everyone looking for a lot of different jobs. But welcome to everybody here in this webinar, if you will, here to Career Resume Development. A little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Minnesota. You will hear my accent throughout this presentation. Been in California for about 13 years. I have a double major in marketing communication, PR, advertising. My background prior to FlexCare was in the fitness industry. So I was in the fitness industry for over 15 years, 24-hour fitness, lifetime fitness, to name a few. Again, my time with FlexCare medical staffing, about 8.5 years at this point. And I really started as like an office admin in this role, but knew I loved recruiting from my past experiences. And within 6 months of opening our internal recruitment team, I was the second one in line with my resume and got the position. So I have recruited for a lot of positions within our organization, from healthcare recruiter, which is sales-based, to account managers dealing with the client side, compliance, anything within financial operations, from payroll to accounts receivable. Also, my most recent specialties in information systems. So developers, admins, different architects within different system side on our technology side, as well as HR, and a plethora of others that I probably am forgetting. But again, excited to chat with you all today, but a little bit about me and, where I came from and how I got to where I am today. Our chat today, just want to go over a brief overview. We're going to talk about why. Why are we chatting today? Why do we need to really hone in on a resume? Why it's integral to really getting either a new position or, starting a new career as a new grad. Talking about before you write your resume and the pointers and the things to do beforehand. Next, our recruiter viewpoint. Again, we have a lot of viewpoints on a resume. Like I mentioned to the ladies before we joined the chat, there's a lot of different rabbit holes and a lot of different information that people have about resumes. So I just want to hone in on a few of those things from my viewpoint, because I do see a lot of resumes every day. I'm going to talk about formatting. We're going to take a look at some resumes together. We're going to talk about some objectives for new grads, and then also objectives for changing careers completely. We're going to do some content focus on the actual meat and potatoes of the resume itself, some tips to make yourself stand out. And then I'm also going to provide my contact information as well as my LinkedIn, so that anyone can reach out to me at any point, and then would love to, answer any questions that anybody has. So why? Why are we talking about resumes today? It's a fun topic. Again, a lot of different personalities and things that go into a resume. But the big reason is, if you're applying for a job, whether you're a new grad or changing careers, is there are a lot of applicants and a lot of applications that go out to a recruiter every day per requisition or position that is posted. So it's very important that you make yourself stand out. So these are just some stats that I pulled, some of them from Google, some of our actual numbers that I pulled from our applicant tracking system. The national average of applicants per position is about 250. So as a recruiter, if you have 6 to 8 positions and you're getting about 250 applications per position, that gives you an idea of how crazy, my job and my team can really be. Corporate positions, right now for FlexCare as an organization, the average number of applicants we are getting is about 100. So positions that we have right now, sales positions, so we're getting about 100 per position, which can, depending on how long the requisition is open, can be 30, to sometimes 60 applications a day that we're reviewing. And the average recruiter for us has about 6 open positions. Another big reason why recruiters or hiring managers spend only a few seconds skimming a resume. Literally, they see what they see, and if it's not visually appealing, they may go on to the next. So we really want to help you make yourself stand out from the very first glance of a resume. Typically, within these 250 or 100 applications, 10 applicants might get a callback. And a callback could mean an initial phone screen, Could mean a first in person. Again, every position and every organization is going to run their interviews differently. But again, this is just kind of an average. From the callback, 3 hiring manager interviews. So maybe you do an initial phone screen with myself or an in-person via video with myself. So 3 people out of potentially 250 applicants will see a manager, with the idea that we will get 1 hire for the position. So again, just some stats. Again, like I said, some that I got from Google, and then some that I did pull from my own stats, and then stats that we use within FlexCare. Very important before you write your resume. And again, these are just some pointers. Other people may have some other pointers to point out. So again, make sure you're putting, even if you have ideas in that chat, it's all going to be good information for all of us. Really aligning your skills and your qualifications with the job description. We don't need to see everything. While everything from your work experience is very important, really align those skills and those qualifications with the job. For example, if it's a sales position and you've been working at Rayleigh's or maybe Target, which we love hiring people from Target, maybe you, not sure if you help stock shelves, maybe you worked in customer service, but making sure that you're talking about your customer service background and the things that you did that could be lucrative for a sales position, and really honing in on those skills, pulling keywords out of the job description. And I will show you an example of a job description that we have for our current open recruiter position. So you can just see, again, it's not going to be the best job description, but it's a very basic job description, but pulling those keywords out. So if it says expert at, and then it has a certain, whether it's communication, whether it's multitasking, making sure that you are duplicating that in your resume so that it calls attention to the recruiter or the hiring manager. Do research on the organization. You will see this throughout my presentation, making sure that you are doing research. Because again, you can make sure that you are customizing your resume based on research of the organization, whether it's the culture, whether it's the flow, whether it's the position itself, making sure that you know what the organization stands for, and what they're looking for, and really kind of getting to know the vibe or the culture of the organization itself. Important things to look at: their website. There's a lot on our website from a company organization standpoint, from blogs to learning about how our clinicians feel about FlexCare and our recruiters, to from a recruitment standpoint, from my perspective. LinkedIn obviously is, I love LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all day long. It's a great place to go connect with the recruiter, connect with the organization, connect with other people within the organization, and really make sure that you know as much as you possibly can about the organization. And it's going to help you also formulate questions, right? If you get to the interview process, formulating those questions that you might have to make sure that you are a really good fit for the position. So again, this is all before you write your resume, things to take a look at. And again, the last point on this slide, if you know someone who works for the organization or who can connect you, somebody who does, use them as a resource. And you will hear this throughout the presentation today, as well as use your resources. Resources are key. Resources can point you in the right direction. They can help you really drill down your resume and make sure that it's customized to the position that you are applying for. Recruiter viewpoints. So this is going to be, some of this is personal perspective. Some of this is, I've been doing this for 8.5 years. And again, there's a lot of different viewpoints when it comes to a resume. So I'm giving you like my day in the life of what that looks like. And again, the next slide, we are actually going to look at a job description so that you can see how you would format and figure out a summary and an objective, and then content based around the job description itself. So from my viewpoint, format or visual presentation is key. If I see a resume that has, all kinds of crazy colors and shapes, it's hard to see where the person's name even is on the resume. If the format is all over the place and I can't figure out where, the career information is based on the education information, it's really hard to follow or just really hard to look at. Unfortunately, sometimes that resume may get passed on. You really want to make sure that it's appealing to the eye. You want to make sure that your font is consistent. I personally like maybe 2 fonts. I'm a 1 font girl, maybe using some bolding, but I would say 2 fonts at the very maximum. Spacing, make sure that things are spaced out. We don't want things running together. Again, color. Color is great, but too much color. Again, like I said, stars or, I'm just giving silly examples, but stars or butterflies or other things on a resume just are not necessary. And consistency is also key. So making sure that your format and the visual presentation of your resume is consistent throughout. If it's 2 pages, make sure that both pages, look fairly identical, if that makes sense. Next section, that's a big deal for myself. And again, we'll focus on this a little bit later in the presentation, is summary and or objective, however you want to look at it. And this is your time to sell yourself. This is your time to shine. This is your time to take all of your experience and put it into, 2 to 5 sentences, which can also be very difficult. But these are the things that really stand out. So, again, as you're getting to know an organization, as you're reviewing a job description, you want to hone in or make bullet points on these things that you have in terms of experience that you can use to sell yourself for the position, and then formulate that into a summary, again, and or an objective, whatever you'd like to call it. But make me excited. As a recruiter, I see your name, I see your contact information. I'm reading that objective in the beginning of the resume, and now I'm excited to hear more and continue to hear more, because I'm seeing how the candidate appeals and would work well for the position. The third thing, content. And again, this is everything in the middle of that resume, all of the information that you are, proud in terms of your education, your experience. We want to make sure this content, again, is formatted visually so we can find it, and it's all in there and customized to the position that you are applying for. Include all skills and experiences. So please include your education. Again, as a new grad, some of these things are going to be super important. Any volunteer experience that you have, any student organizations that you are a part of, any certificates that you've gotten, all need to be in a resume. Any honors that you've gotten, again, all need to be in that resume. And they're really going to add that value, right? And bullet points are good. Actually, bullet points are preferred. And writing a story, like I said, do not write a story. If I see a story, a full page of, just text, it's going to make me feel like it's a little bit busy, but I can pull out a bullet point and I can read that. And if I like that bullet point, I can go to the next one or even skip around if I want to, but don't write a story that's overwhelming for everybody. Definitely love bullet points. And for lastly, but should be first and foremost on a resume, is don't forget your name and contact information. I know this sounds silly, but people will put their name and their email, and then it's like, where's their phone number? Or a phone number is incorrect. Please just make sure that's at the very top of the resume, and or some people I see it put it in the footer of a resume as well. And I do appreciate that, because you can get to the bottom and there's the contact information as well on that resume. This again, in terms of flow, I just wanted everybody to see a job description. Again, a very basic job description, not a perfect job description by any means, but this is one that we use for our recruiter position currently that we are hiring for. And it's going to give you, the summary that what we're really looking for. So if all you're looking at is that summary, that is what we need. And being able to pull out keywords, being able to work with other people. So I'm just going to read this summary. As a recruiter, you will be responsible for working in conjunction with the account management team to identify, present, and hire qualified candidates for contract positions throughout the nation. So that gives you an idea. Obviously, you're working with different teams. So, team management, working together, working collaboratively is going to be integral. So being able to pull those things out of a summary to make sure that you have experience that aligns, as well as making sure that's in your resume. Other things that I will point out within this job description, you see manage a lot. So manage, contract employees. That doesn't necessarily mean you need management experience, but being able to manage a process, right, is going to be important. And, or, maybe you have managed a team before, or maybe you were in charge of um, a, a, a club or an organization at school, anything like that. We want to make sure that you have that experience on that resume. Um, Again, required skills and abilities, verbal and written communication skills. Great keywords. Verbal and written communication skills are huge for a position like this. So making sure that you have that in your resume, I would say in a couple of different spots. There's that organizational skills, again, and attention to detail. And we're looking under the required skills and abilities. We do have education on here as well. So if your education aligns, please make sure that you have that in your resume and at some point, it's highlighted at some point because it definitely is going to align with the job description, as well as technologies. So you'll see second bullet point from the bottom there under required skills and abilities, familiarity with Microsoft Office, web-based databases, and be internet savvy. Again, technology is huge in any position this day and age. So you'll hear me say technology several times while we're talking today. So just really making sure that you are drilling down that experience so that it aligns with the job description itself. And then also I do have the QR code there. Those are the current jobs that we are recruiting for. I can't remember if that goes directly to our recruitment position or to our careers page, but either way, if you want to take a look at other jobs, we are hiring recruiters for our April 2nd start date. So just wanted to give you an overview of that as well. Formatting. So let's go into more detail on formatting of a resume. This resume example that we have right here is an example of a good format. You can see when you look at the top of the resume, we have the contact information, we have the name, and I absolutely love the indentation of the physical content versus the topic of each section of the content. Absolutely love that. So if all I do is, look down the left side of that resume, I can see everything. And if I want to skip and look at work history first, all right, then I want to look at skills, then I can do that very easily. And then the content in the middle is easy to read. I love the breakup with the bullet points. The dates in there is huge. Absolutely make sure that you have the month and the year on your resume, but this is a very visually appealing format. Also love the blue, love kind of calling out the contact information and the little bit of blue highlight here and there. So it's absolutely a great format. This next one, not as great a format. I was telling my business partner, I love centering things when it comes to being creative, but not in a resume. So this looks like this whole resume is justified to the center. Hard to read. The name does stand out. The contact information does stand out, which is really good, but it all kind of blends together. So I would definitely justify it differently. I would put more spacing in between those bold headers, but definitely not appealing to the eye. Kind of honestly looks like a tornado a little bit. So really just making sure that the eye is drawn to the important pieces of the resume and doesn't just look like one big piece of content. So hopefully that kind of gives you a good example of those. Objective. Again, objective is at the very top of the resume, and it's going to be what you can use to sell yourself and what makes a recruiter like myself excited to continue to read, pushing that person to the next part of the resume. Here's a couple of examples. These are examples of, let me go back here and make sure. Yep. So these are two examples of somebody who is making a career change. So let's say you've been working in marketing and you want to get into sales, or let's say you've been in sales, you want to get into marketing. Maybe you've been in marketing and you really like digital UI UX design. And so you want to get into more of the technology side of an organization and completely, change your career trajectory. It's important to make sure that you're focusing on the skills that you have and how they relate to the new role or roles that you are, going to potentially um, be applying for. So, and also obviously the resume itself. So, I'll read one of these. I don't necessarily need to read both of them, but just want to make sure, again, it's really focusing on where are you now? Where do you want to be? What skills do you have that work with both, the 2 years, 2 to 5 years of experience that you have currently, and, you wanting to make a change in your career path. So this person has 15 years of experience doing retail sales. And they're looking to join a team. They're licensed in real estate, and they want to use their interpersonal communication skills to build trusting relationships to help clients find new homes. So the relationships that they have working in retail sales, they want to make sure that they're using that, and they want to become a licensed real estate agent. So a great example of an objective that could be used when you're looking to change careers. The next one is someone who is in sales, I believe, and they want to get into marketing, if I remember correctly. So reliable business professional with 8 years of experience in sales and business development. And this person worked within financial services industry, and they're seeking a digital marketing specialist role. So again, that's an example of a complete switch in career path from sales, business development. They want to take that experience that they have and they want to get into digital marketing. So they're talking about how they're a creative thinker. They've worked with and managed a lot of different client demands, which is huge in digital marketing. They built solutions, and in those solutions, they've improved revenues and also brand awareness, which is also integral in digital marketing. So again, another great example of how you can create an objective to help you completely change career paths. And, it explains the why, right? Again, it all drills down to the why as a recruiter. I may see your resume all in sales and you're applying for a marketing position, but if the objective says why I'm looking to get into a marketing position, that helps me kind of uncover that question in the very beginning. And again, it keeps me, reading that resume. The next two objectives are for new grads. So people who may, have worked a little bit while you're going to school, maybe have a little bit of experience, like I mentioned, any extracurriculars that you're a part of. Obviously, being an athlete is a huge deal. Please put that on your resume as well. That's something I forgot to mention, but please put those on a resume. But somebody who has experience through school, not as much maybe work, on the job experience, but is looking to get a new position. So these are great examples of that and how you can utilize that experience and or your degree to help hone in on the position that you're trying to get through that resume. So the first sample is this person has an MBA in marketing. They're seeking to work in this as a sales professional with a product or service company, possess good communication skills, and know how to generate leads and increase the revenue of a business. So again, marketing degree, good communication skills, and they learned, how to increase the revenue of a business, probably through a lot of their marketing, but also that skill is going to help them as a sales professional within the organization. So making sure that we are focusing on those things. And the next one is another person that's looking to be in sales again. Again, I kind of picked these because of the focus on us hiring for sales positions, our recruiter positions right now. So this person is excellent at relationship building and networking, seeking a position of junior sales executive. They're going to use their selling and negotiation skills to good use and help the company achieve great financial heights. And they mentioned at the end of this, so they have a diploma in sales and marketing. So again, there's an example of where someone put their degree at the beginning of an objective and the degree at an end, but that's going to tell the recruiter or the hiring manager what experience you have based on that education. Content. I love this part. So content. I'm just going to throw it right out there. So this is a resume. I actually pulled this one off of Google. We've used this example for a few of our presentations of just a content kind of nightmare, if you will. So way too much color. This person doesn't even have their name or contact information first, or, I think it's halfway down over there on the left side, very, very small is their contact information. So again, looking at this resume, content is not great. And it honestly, I don't even know if I'd get much into much of the body of the content because of how the first part looks. Um, I'm okay with photos on a resume. I know that's always a hot topic is photos on a resume. I'm okay with the photo on a resume as long as it makes sense for the position. Definitely don't have your sunglasses on in the photo, right? Not a good representation of yourself. Um, but again, way too many fonts. The content itself is all over the place. There's little, picture clip art in there. It's really, really hard to follow this resume. And again, very small font, contact information, you have to search for it. So definitely a good example of what not to do, again, in my opinion. This one is content wise and layout and formatting to me is phenomenal. I love the name at the very top. I love, and this one's a little bit even different where they do their objective first and then their contact information is after, which I like that. I think that's great. I do love how they break up education, internships, volunteer experience. This is a really good example of, as a new grad, that education, everyone should be commended of, their degree, the education, that's a big deal. So that needs to be at the top. And then talking about internships that this person has had, talking about volunteer experience that they've had, and then technical skills. At the bottom there, you see technical skills, like I mentioned earlier, making sure that you are putting those technical skills on that resume. I would say regardless of what the position is, technical skills are huge. So I want to see those technical skills, whether it's, just, Microsoft Office or Excel, whatever that looks like, Teams, any type of chat that you've used, as simple as that is very important to have. And then this person also put their soft skills, which is huge. I love this. Things that they know that they are good at. A recruiter might call them out on, why are you good at time management? Why do you feel like teamwork is a one of your soft skills? Storytelling obviously is huge for a sales position, as you kind of are telling a story. You're selling yourself and you're selling a brand or a product. So it's a big deal. And that's something that a recruiter like myself can see those things and hone in on those and ask questions that allows you to kind of, again, tell your story about your experience. Content guidelines, again, just to drill this down even further. Like I said, some of this is super repetitive, but I want to make sure that you understand how important these all are. Again, from my perspective, again, contact information seems that's something that is a given, but we get resumes all the time with no contact information, and also contact information that is incorrect. Incorrect phone numbers, incorrect email addresses, or email addresses that are no longer working, that type of thing. Please make sure your contact information is always up to date. Dates of employment, again, I mentioned this earlier. Month and year is very important because I want to see, especially new grads, a lot of times they are going to school and they're working a part-time job at, like I said, Target, and then also they might be nannying. I want to see those months and those years that overlap, that show me that, wow, this person was going to school and had 2 jobs on the side. That is huge. That's time management. That's multitasking. There's a lot that goes into being able to do those things all at one time. So make sure that those dates of employment are in there. Also, I want to see if you have, any gaps in employment. That's something to discuss. And that next bullet point says fill in gaps. Again, this is going to be a personal preference from one recruiter to another. I would rather see an explanation for a gap of employment versus having to, pull that information out of someone. Graduated school and then was looking for a job. Well, in the meantime, while I was looking for a job, I worked at Target, again, as an example. So I want to see those gaps of employment and what you were doing, because some of those skills may be relevant to the position itself. So I would rather, see those things in a resume. Again, more details, specific experience. Again, like I talked about in the beginning, volunteer work that you've done, any clubs that you are a part of, activities and experience specifics need to be on that resume, specifically as a new grad, but I would say just across the board, if it is relevant to the position, please make sure it's in your resume because that's all great information for myself to read, to learn about yourself and your experiences, and then even, kind of your career aspirations. Awards that you've received, very important. Certificates, if you have any type of certificates. Now I'm not talking about like LinkedIn Learning certificates. You may have 25 of those. You don't necessarily need to list every certificate that you've ever gotten, but things that are relevant to the position and things that you feel will make yourself stand out for the role that you are applying for. And then again, technology, lots of focus on technology. Make sure that technology is in there. A good recruiter will ask more questions about technology if it's relevant to the position itself, but making sure that it's there, then I can say, I see, you have Excel experience. Let's talk more about your Excel experience and how you would rate yourself or how you've used it, or databases that you are familiar with. I want to learn about all of that. This last one is huge and something that I run across daily, maybe hourly as I'm reviewing resumes. Please upload your resume. When you are applying to Indeed, if you're applying to Monster, we use Indeed a lot with FlexCare. If you're applying to Indeed, and I would say any other application tracking system that allows you to upload a resume, please upload your resume. Inputting that information one at a time because you're not sure if your resume is ready or you don't have your resume, please take the time to complete your resume first and then upload that resume. Reason being, and I wasn't able to find an example, is Indeed is a great platform. Like I said, we use it every day with every position, but it does kind of skew some of the information. And I more often than not will see things in a resume or a format of a resume, and people are like, oh, no, that was my job 5 years ago, but Indeed swapped it because it was entered manually, and then they create a resume for you. So absolute recommendation from me, upload your resume anytime you can versus manually entering that information into an application. And I'm happy to, again, to go through any other details or questions that you might have on that at the end of the call. This is the big part of the presentation, is making yourself stand out. These, again, are going to be higher level advice from myself, as, like I said, someone who's been recruiting for over 8 years, things that I look for in a resume. And then even, as you get to your initial phone interview with a recruiter, these are things that I ask for and or look for within a resume and initial conversations with candidates. First one, do research and know the industry. Very important. Look at the website of the organization that you are applying to. Again, it's part of, the culture, making sure you're honing in on the culture, learning a little bit about the individuals that work at the organization or work within the industry itself. Look at blogs. How better to know about an industry, especially if it's new to you, like FlexCare and travel nursing, than to look at a blog written by our team internally, or a blog written by a travel nurse themselves who's been working with FlexCare and can give you insights into what it was like working for us and with us. Glassdoor is an amazing platform that you can see reviews of current employees, past employees, a great resource to be able to learn about different positions within an organization. So please do that research. And then competitors. I know some people are shocked when I say, please research our competitors, but this is how you can see how one organization stands out from another organization and maybe help you again with that resume. What experience do I have that is going to help me stand out to one organization over another one? Look at those competitors, and then you can also formulate questions, right, from doing that research, and look at things that you may like, things that you don't like, be able to, to talk to the recruiter and or make sure that you are honing in on those things within the content of your resume. Asking questions. Reach out to people within the organization. LinkedIn is going to be amazing for this. Connect with the recruiter, connect with their connections. If there's people within the organization that have a title of a position that you are interested in, reach out to them. I would say probably every person within FlexCare would love to be a resource to anyone looking to get into an organization like ours. So reach out to people, ask questions, tell them you're thinking about applying for a position, would love to hear it from them in terms of their experience with the organization. And then also, the skills and knowledge that they had coming in and can gain moving forward is also going to really, really help you with the content and things that you should put in a resume. This next one is don't be afraid to do, we call them a discovery call with a recruiter before applying. And I'm a big advocate of a discovery call. Some people don't want to put an application out there until they're ready. They know for sure it's a good fit. They know for sure the organization is going to align with their career goals. So don't be afraid to ask a recruiter to do a discovery call or just have an initial chat because you have questions and you want to make sure that it's a good fit for yourself and the organization. So something that I highly recommend doing. And then this is also going to help with the application and the resume creation process. You're going to ask questions. The recruiter or the hiring manager, again, some organizations are recruiters and hiring managers. The recruiter can give you more information and you can make sure, I need to make sure that's in my resume because they talked about, sales experience and, being customer focused and single point of contact several times throughout our, brief, 15 to 20-minute conversation. So I really want to make sure that my skills in my resume align with that so that I'm going to stand out. Ask questions during the interview. Also, like I said, the discovery call is a place to ask questions. This is a little bit more higher level, but making sure you're asking questions during the interview process or just throughout the process. I can't say enough how much a recruiter, a hiring manager, loves questions, and also, shows that you did that research, right? You know a little bit about the industry and you want to learn more. And again, make sure that you can focus on that fit for yourself and your background. Update LinkedIn to match your resume. Again, not something that people think about, but this is a must. Recruiters look at this every time. I know I look at this every time. I pull a resume. I like what I see. I pull a LinkedIn and then I'm like, wow, they've missed 10 years or, 3 years of their experience on their LinkedIn profile. Please make sure that those align. It is very, very important. The other cool thing about LinkedIn, as I know, I feel like, I've heard people have heard people talk, should a resume still be one page? Not necessarily. I don't need a resume to be one page. If a resume is exciting and I like the experience, I'm fine with 2 pages, right? As long as that space that's taken up is warranted. But LinkedIn is a space that you can utilize more space. So as a recruiter, if I'm getting a resume, I can go to LinkedIn and now there's more information, more details. So I do that every time I see a candidate that I'm excited to move forward with is look at LinkedIn. So again, you can make sure that you're customizing that resume a little bit more, but LinkedIn is a space that you can go to, that a recruiter can go to, a hiring manager to see even more experience. And then LinkedIn link should be on a resume. Again, a big deal. I'm even fine with your LinkedIn being right up in their contact information. Put that link on your resume. That helps me. It's one less step as a recruiter. I can click on that. There's your LinkedIn, and I can take a look at that excessive experience as well. So definitely recommend. To me, it's a must. Make sure that LinkedIn is on your resume. This is also part of kind of the networking that I mentioned earlier, is sending LinkedIn messages or an email to introduce yourself to the recruiter. Most positions within an organization should have a recruiter attached to a posting. So if you can get that information, or again, you can make a connection with somebody within the organization and find out who the recruiter is, message them. I love getting messages from people saying, I applied for your marketing position, would love to introduce myself to you. Also attached is my resume. That doesn't hurt as well. Attach your resume in that message or in that email. Here's why I'm a good fit. Again, it's a couple, sentences of why I should really, reach out to you. But I love that. And that also makes it for if you're someone who applied amongst 250 other people and two people send me a message, you best believe I'm going right into LinkedIn and I'm pulling your profile and I'm looking at your experience, and we'll, be calling you to do an interview. So big deal. Make sure that you are sending a LinkedIn message or an email, introduce yourself to the recruiter right after, you apply for a position. To me is a huge, huge thing. And for the most part ends up in an interview. So definitely do that. Highlight technology experience. There's that technology again, making sure that it aligns with the job description and the needs of the position you are applying for. Make sure you're highlighting that in your resume. Again, I loved that one format where it was kind of highlighted along the bottom in blue. So it draws the eye to the bottom with that technology experience. Highlighting that again, like I said, even if it's Excel, if it's programs you worked on in school, put that technology experience in there because every position, for the most part, has something to do with technology. This is another one that people don't think of: social media cleanup. Keeping it professional. And again, I know this doesn't necessarily have to do with a resume, but from a resume goes someone, clicking into a LinkedIn to someone wanting to learn more about somebody, and going deeper into social media. So making sure if you're applying for positions actively that your social media is cleaned up, that it is professional. So if I go in there and I want to learn more about, yourself and your personality, and again, your fit within an organization, I would love to see, things on social media that kind of align. Not always easy to do, but just make sure that it's as professional as possible. And that's also a good place as a recruiter that we would go, as a resource, as almost like a place where you can, get recommendations from people, see who else they're connected with. Very important to make sure that your social media it is professional, in my personal opinion. That next one is GitHub, which is a platform that you can use to create a portfolio. There's other portfolio creation tools or databases that you can utilize. But if you are someone who's getting into a marketing position or a creative position, if it's technology and you can create a GitHub that has some coding samples or something along those lines, create that portfolio ahead of time and have a link to that on your resume. Again, a good recruiter will pull that information out of you during an interview, but having that on a resume, especially if it's more of a creative role, I see that on a resume and I'm like, they're thinking ahead. There's their portfolio, and I'm going to click on that, and that gives me more information. It's like an extended resume, really, of your experience and your background, your creativity. It's a place that you can, have ready to really showcase that experience that aligns. And like I said, make sure you're adding that link to your resume.
Hey, Lindsay. So I
Yeah,
just wanted to give a little time check. So
yeah.
we're at 1:17 right now. So just a little over like about 13 minutes or so.
Okay, you got it. Thank you. We're almost done here. So this next one, again, sending a thank you after an interview. Handwritten is best. I know it's kind of old school again, but if you can send a handwritten thank you or bring one with you to hand them, that is amazing. And again, I get those and I'm just like, oh my gosh, so nice to get a thank you after an interview. Again, this is something that's going to really set you apart. The next one is references listed on a resume. Again, there's different opinions from recruiters about references. I would hope everyone who's applying for positions has professional references. So putting references available upon request is not, a need for me as a recruiter. I would love to see your references listed on your resume. Even if it's a name or a title within an organization, the fact that I know that you already have those references aligned and ready for me to call is a huge deal. So to me, I would love to have the references on that resume. And then again, more detail can be included in LinkedIn. So LinkedIn link should be on your resume. I know I talked about that earlier, but really making sure that LinkedIn is highlighted on that resume, and that absolutely will make yourself stand out. Here is my contact information. My name is on there as well as my email address, also with a QR code. You can scan that to go to my LinkedIn profile. So I recommend connecting with myself. I would love to be a resource to anybody who would like a resume review. Also, we will be at Meet the Employer here next week, if I remember correctly, myself and the other Lindsay. So there are two Lindsays within my organization will be there. So I'd love to make those connections so that if you stop by the booth at that time, would love to, chat with you. But please scan that QR code, visit my LinkedIn. Let's get connected. And again, like I said, that email address, take a picture of that contact information. Would love to be able to do resume reviews and be a resource to anybody who joined us today.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, for your presentation. I just want to highlight again what Lindsay was saying. So next week on Thursday, February 22nd, FlexCare will be on campus at Lassen Hall 1013 in the Career Center, where they will be talking a little bit more about their organization and also reviewing resumes. So if you have a resume where you're like, oh, I want to bring it in and have them look at it, next Thursday from 12:30 to 2:30, they will be in the Career Center, Lassen Hall,
Yes.
1013. So I just really want to highlight that for anyone who's interested. That's also on Handshake. So we did have some questions that came in, so we'll just try to go through some of these.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So one question, if a lot of skills are mentioned in the job description, is it a good practice to list all skills or just focus on listing the major ones? What would you suggest?
My suggestion, if a job description is written, if it's a well-written job description, let's put it that way, the top 3 to 5 skills should be in the top 3 to 5 bullet points in those job descriptions. So I would focus on those things. Again, not all job descriptions are created equal, but if it is a well-written job description, it's going to have the most important things in the top 3 to 5 bullet points. So I would make sure that you're at least highlighting those on the resume. If you have space, put the other ones in, but make sure you're highlighting those things at the very top section to align with that job description.
Great.
Mhm.
And then we have another question. What about if you don't have work experience related to the position, but have academic experience? For example, I have a lot of customer service experience, but no relevant work experience, but experience through academics and extracurricular activities.
Yep, absolutely. Put that on the resume and highlight that. Like I mentioned, academics, it could be projects that you worked on, right? Maybe you were the lead on a project. Maybe you were the person who did a lot of the formatting in a database. Maybe you did some of the content. Pull those skills from even some projects that you created through your academics. Same thing with, being an athlete. What was your role? What position did you play? Leadership skills that come from being an athlete, part of a club. What are the different things that you did within that club? And make sure you're highlighting those within the resume. Absolutely a must.
As a recruiter, what is your opinion on a feng shui resume?
I'm not sure I know what's meant by that.
Yes. If anyone wants to follow up on that, I also am not sure.
Yeah,
But if someone wants to follow up in the chat, what they've heard about that.
I would love more information for sure.
When you say that month and day need to be on the resume, what do you mean by that?
So month and year, sorry if I said month and day. So month and year need to be on a resume. So March 2020 to April, 2023, that type of thing. I don't need the actual day of the month, but having a month and a year is to me integral. If I see a resume that has, too much information, or that just has, 2022 to 2024, there's still questions there. Was there a gap in employment? Were there things that were being done, like I mentioned, school and or work together? That's a huge undertaking and should be commended for anybody. So I want to make sure that I'm able to easily align those things. Again, a good recruiter will pull that out of you during an interview, but if they're able to see that in the resume and know exactly when one position ended and one position began, that's going to be really helpful to kind of drill down the questions they might ask during the interview process.
Great. Can you speak to the difference between objective focused on your professional goals versus professional summary of your professional qualifications?
I think I understand that question correctly. Yes. So yeah, so there's a couple, again, there's no real rule for an objective or a summary. If you want to be able to take the experience that you have and keep it more wide open, I would definitely recommend doing a more, I don't want to say generic, that's not the right word, but more of a summary or an objective that can align with multiple different positions. So that's taking your experience, right, and everything from school or past positions, putting that in an objective and then creating a resume off of that versus taking experience that you have and really, honing it into specific experience listed on a job description. I'm really good with either of those. But I would say if a job is specific to, let's say, for example, like a technology position is really looking for like Drupal website experience. I would make sure that is absolutely in that objective or that summary because that's very, very specific if you have that experience. But I'm good with more general information as well, if that makes sense. Hopefully I answered that correctly.
Okay. Should we add dates to professional volunteer roles?
I would, yes, I absolutely would. And again, just a month and a year is just fine. But yes, I absolutely would. Again, another reason and a why behind that is if you're doing volunteer or something like that, and you're a freshman in college, that again a huge undertaking. You're doing volunteer work and you're doing class at the same time. Very difficult to do. So I want to see at what point were you doing that volunteer work.
Okay. I have 3 associate degrees, bachelor's and master's. Should I know all degrees on my resume?
Yes, absolutely. All education, like I said, should be commended. It's a lot of work. Put all of your education on your resume. Absolutely, yes.
Okay. When using bullet points, should a period be at the end?
I like periods. Yes. Again, that's going to be a personal preference. I feel like a period is it's like a conclusion, right? Okay, that's it for that one. Now we're going to the next one. Visually, I've seen both and it doesn't throw me off, but I am somebody who wants to see here's the thought or here's the sentence or here's a bullet point. I do like that period because it's beginning, a middle with the content, and then that's the end of that bullet point.
Okay. How would you add gaps of employment in a resume? What section would you add it in?
I would add it into the flow of the resume, into the content itself. So, like an example I gave before would be you graduate from college and then you're looking for a new job. So, in 2023, you graduated from college, and then from January of 2020 or December of 2023 to April of 2024, you were looking for a position. I would put that in order, in chronological order in the resume, so that as I'm reading from the top to the bottom of the resume, I'm seeing, this was experience that you had, and then there was a gap, and that gap came right after you graduated from college, if that makes sense. I would put the dates in there. And again, I would make sure to put specifics. If you were volunteering during that time, maybe you were taking care of an elderly family member. That there's a lot that goes into that and can be experienced as it also align with new positions. So I love all of those details in the resume. And again, align it, make sure the most recent work history or volunteer experience is on the very top of that content, and just do it in order by date.
On the topic of filling in gaps, how should I do that if I have multiple gaps? So,
Good question. I would say if the gaps are so multiple gaps within, I would still put those gaps in there. So I've seen resumes where there's a gap, right, like I said, right after education. I'm looking for a job, but while I'm looking for a job, I'm taking care of my elderly grandparent. I did some volunteer work on the side. During my volunteer work, I did a lot of Excel spreadsheets because I helped organize whatever, my volunteer work was. I helped them organize their database, put that in there. And then let's say you got a part-time job, put that part-time job in there. And then let's say, or maybe it was even a contract position. To have a contract position right now or a short-term position is still experience. So nobody should be ashamed. If you have a contract experience that's only 6 months, and then you have another gap of employment, put that in there. Once that contract ended, put contract ended. Now I'm searching for another job, but here's the things that I'm doing to either search for a new job or, again, volunteer work, projects that you're working on. Make sure that you're putting those in that gap. So absolutely, I would, again, put it in order of when those gaps happen for sure.
Great. So we do have some more questions,
Mhm.
although I do know we're at 129.
Yeah.
I did see that someone asked if you could put your contact back up. They were trying to get
Mhm.
your QR code, so if we can add that. And then yes, I just wanted to be mindful if anyone needed to hop off at 1:30. Um, yeah,
Yep.
I think we have
Absolutely.
about three more questions or so.
Go ahead.
Okay. What are your thoughts on functional resume structure when making a career transition, still listing in chronological order?
So you're making a career change, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yes, and a functional resume structure.
A functional resume structure. So what I'm gathering from that is I deal with a lot of different functional resumes when I'm recruiting for technology positions that are going to have a lot more detail. If that makes sense. To me, that is what defines a more functional resume. Um, and the question was talked about, I'm sorry, chronological order. Is that what you asked? Can you just repeat that
Yeah.
one more time?
What are your thoughts on functional resume structure? For example, when making a career transition, but you're still listing work in chronological order.
Yes. So my thoughts are, yes, it's a functional resume. It still needs to be listed in chronological order. That's a very good question and a very hard one. I've actually had a few resumes, like I said, on the technology side that are like that. It does need to be in chronological order. It absolutely does. I think that that is integral. If, as a recruiter, if I do not see the most current, again, experience or position or education at the very top, it throws me off because I don't know what that person has been doing or is doing currently. So chronological order, regardless, is to me integral. And I would even go so far as to say that if I get a resume that's not in chronological order for whatever reason, I might move on to the next person because I can't tell what experience they have had that's recent that aligns with the position that they're applying for. Does that make sense?
Yes. Is there such a thing as doing too much to get recognized? I'm referring to the topic of discovery calls, research, and asking questions.
Absolutely not. And again, this comes from my experience specifically in, like I said, our recruiter role or our sales position right now that we're applying for. There's a lot of applicants. And if you apply for a position and you message me on LinkedIn and you also send an email, that shows that one, it shows you're really excited about the position, you're passionate about the role, your experience aligns or education aligns with the role, you're excited. So any and all communication, follow up, checking in, I love all of it. And I even tell people after the interview, if you don't hear from me within 24 hours, check in with me. I'm never annoyed by somebody checking in on a resume or an application or an interview. I want to hear from you. And again, that's what stands out. I'm going to remember that you messaged me on LinkedIn and I have your resume as well. And I want to talk to you because you've taken that extra step to send those additional messages. So to me, there's no, you can't be or do too much when it comes to reaching out to make yourself stand out. Absolutely not.
What about a cover letter? As a recruiter, do you read these with the resumes?
That's also kind of a hot topic. It's going to depend on the position. For a sales position like our healthcare recruiter position, no, because if you upload the spot where they're going to have you upload your resume, if your cover letter is first, that's a lot for me to get through when I'm getting 250, even 100 applicants. So I would say no cover letter. That's a place where you can also send a cover letter through LinkedIn, through an email. Hey, I applied. My resume is in the application tracking system, but I also wanted to send you my cover letter and send that in an email. Attach it to a LinkedIn message. Now, if it's a position like marketing or more of a creative that has writing involved, I absolutely would love a cover letter because that's what I want to see is the experience that you have as a writer, and a cover letter is a very good example, very good writing sample, and an example of who you are and how you are as a writer. So absolutely, it's going to depend on the position. Again, a good company or a good recruiter should have that in the application system. When you click to apply to a position, it should say cover letter, is a must. Or if they're looking for a cover letter, make sure that you put a cover letter. But if there's not a cover letter, then I would say no to the cover letter, but send it through a different platform. Or even ask after you've had an interview, would you have a cover letter? Would you like to see my cover letter? That's how I would address that.
Right. So I do see that we're now nearing 1:35. So um again, if you guys have additional questions, please scan the QR code here. As Lindsay stated, she would be more than happy to answer some of these questions, email her, go in depth. I know that the topic of resume building and all that kind of stuff, um, there's a lot of questions, and then there's
Yeah.
also a lot of questions that are specific, right? That are specific to
Yeah,
each resume and each experience.
absolutely.
So that's why it's
Absolutely.
really good to reach out to Lindsay. If you're able to attend in person next Thursday at Lassen Hall, from 12:30 to 2:30, that's also an excellent time. But I again want to thank everyone for being here. And yes, our recording will be sent out to everyone who registered on Handshake. And again, thank you so much, Lindsay, for
My
joining
pleasure.
us
Thank you all for joining.
and participating. And again, if you felt like you need more information or your question didn't get answered, please reach out to Lindsay or join us next Thursday in Lesson Hall.
Awesome.